The Atlanta Falcons just received a triple dose of bad news, and it can be encompassed in one word. Injuries, injuries, injuries. That's pretty much the bad news that the Falcons are dealing with right now. Now, the Atlanta Falcons just received their fair share of bad news, just like I said, heading into this week, and it's honestly starting to pile up. Now, Raheem Morris laid out a list of injured players, and I'm not exaggerating. I think it was like 15 or 20 deep, but out of all those guys, there are three big ones that really stood out, and it's not good for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, let's start with the first one. Storm Norton is being reverted back to IR, which means he's out for the remainder of the season. Now, Storm Norton was initially designated to return from injury reserve on October 22nd, which opened up that 21-day window for activation. The plan was for him to get back on that 53-man roster, and a lot of people, including myself, thought that this was actually going to happen. Now, he was a full participant on Wednesday and Thursday of Week 9, but somehow, something happened. They hit a snag, and now he's back on IR. Now, Raheem Morris said this about Storm Norton. We'll get a feel, but it wasn't good news. He didn't really go into the medical details, but the bottom line is Storm Norton's season is over. Now, that is a huge loss because he was in competition to start, and he would have provided much needed help along that offensive line. Now, let's move on to the second piece of bad news, and that is Mike Hughes is listed as questionable this week with a neck injury. Now, that's not good. Not only because Hughes has been a part of that corner rotation, but neck injuries can linger longer than you think. And when you combine that with the fact that our secondary is already thin, it just makes things tougher and tougher and tougher. But here's where it gets worse. And this is like that 2B or that second bad news of the second bad news. Dee Alford is in concussion protocol. So we've got Mike Hughes banged up and Alford possibly out. I don't know what the plan is defensively, but it looks like the Falcons will have to roll with what they did last week, which means call up a DB from the practice squad and then roll with one of those guys. Now, this is not great. This is not ideal, and this is definitely not the news you want before facing a division rival opponent, but here's where we at. And now, you can't wait, but there's another blow. So Malone is headed to the injury reserve as well. Now, a lot of people might say, well, Malone doesn't really make an impact on defense, but that's where you'd be wrong because Malone has quietly been one of the best special teams players on this roster. Now, if you go back and watch, the moment Malone left the game in Germany, kick returns got a little bit longer, lane discipline got worse, and you can literally see a little bit of difference in the special teams. Special teams was here, and then somehow it went down a little bit further, which I didn't think it was possible. Now, he may not have become one of that big pass rusher that people hope for, but he's fast, strong, and athletic, which makes him a great fit for special teams. And losing him might not make the headlines, but it's going to be felt in the details, especially in the field position battles that the Atlanta Falcons need to win. And just to top it off real quick, let's add a little bit more to the pile. Let's add a little bit more to the fire. Drake London didn't practice today. Now, it's reported it's just an illness, so hopefully nothing major, but still, that's your top receiver not practicing right before a divisional game. So yeah, not great news there either. So to recap, the Falcons got a triple dose of bad news. Storm Norton out for the season. Mike Hughes questionable with a neck injury. Malone headed to IR. Adding Dee Alford's concussion protocol. And Drake London missing practice. And yeah, that's a tough stretch for the Atlanta Falcons. But here's the thing. They still, somehow, have a chance to bounce back. They've got a divisional matchup against the Carolina Panthers, and this is the perfect opportunity to remind everyone that they can still compete. And even with all this bad news, the Falcons can show resilience, toughness, and hopefully get things back on track. Because, let's be honest, at this point in the season, Atlanta just needs to prove that they can still fight. So yes, injuries everywhere, depth being tested, and some tough news out of Flowery Branch, but the Falcons still have a chance to make a statement. But we have to see if they make that statement. I mean, we cannot lose to the Carolina Panthers twice in 1 year. That's a travesty. And I hope the Atlanta Falcons can figure it out before Sunday. But If you enjoyed that update and if you enjoyed this video, please do me a favor, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss anything related to the Falcons. And if you want to see more videos like this, check this one out right here. And like always,